MMA fighting here at UFC Phoenix Media Day, speaking to Cynthia Calvillo, who takes on Cortney Casey on the main card here on Sunday. And just first thing, Cynthia, I mean, taking a step back and looking at sort of this event and this weekend, it's a big weekend for the UFC. It's the start of the ESPN era, really and proper. Growing up, were you a big ESPN girl? Like, is this weekend mean a little extra, something special for you to be here?
Well, I grew up watching football, so, I definitely, and I love sports in general, but I like playing sports more than watching it, but I did watch football a lot. It's great. I mean, as a professional athlete, it's a dream come true to be able to be on ESPN. I love it. I'm like the first professional athlete coming out of my family, so it's great to be able to do something like this and represent my family, and especially coming from the Mexican community. My parents, being immigrants from Mexico, and I don't know, it's just a dream come true. It's so special to me.
Well, you're coming into this fight off a high note. You ended 2018 with that big win over Polyana. How much of a relief was it for you to just get back to work, get back to winning after what seemed to be a rough year, that first loss, and then what I will say was a very stupid suspension?
Yeah, definitely very unfortunate suspension, but I think, everything does happen for a reason, and did allow me to have a lot of time to reflect. Unfortunately, during that time, my body did go through regular cycles, and it was just kind of made me it was pretty difficult for me with the weight cut coming back, and unfortunately I had that mishap. So it was a little bit rough. It was a sense of relief being able to fight and come out in the first round, but I wasn't too happy with the fact that I'd missed weight, so I still want to make it, right. I want to make weight, and I want to win this fight and, feel better about it, just to show everybody that I'm a true professional. I take this very serious, and, it was a very emotional year for me. So it was definitely good to close out the year with the win against Polyana, such a dominant fighter. But I'm ready to make everything right. I'm ready for this fight, and this Sunday I'm going to prove to everybody why I belong here.
Does it feel like this is almost like a chance to hit the reset button a little bit?
It is. I mean, I think for everybody when they start off the year, this is my first fight of 2019, so, it's hopefully it'll be a reflection of the rest of the year coming, and, because obviously last year, the beginning of it wasn't so good. I got handed a very hefty suspension, and that kind of showed a reflection of what the rest of the year did, but I ended up in a good note, Like I said, I dealt with all the adversity and was still able to come out with my hand raised. Hopefully this time we have a better start, and we can continue to have a better start by hopefully having a title shot by the end of the year.
Well, you're fighting Cortney Casey here, and I'm just curious because she's sort of an interesting case in a way, right? How would you assess her as an opponent? Because she has a losing record in the UFC, but she's fighting a who's who also, and all of these fights are extremely close decisions. How would you assess her as an opponent?
Yeah, honestly, I don't think that her record does her justice. I think she's definitely one of the more tougher strawweights in the division. She's fought the who's who's. She's not an easy person to finish by any means. She's 8-6, but I think they're all close split decisions, except for one where she got finished, but that was a long time ago. But I've been me and Cortney, we came up during the same amateur circuit. We've been fighting just as long, so we've known of each other for a long time. We knew that eventually we were going to come across each other, but she's a super tough fighter, and like I said, she's fought the who's who's, and I'm expecting the best Cortney Casey, and I'm excited for that challenge. I think this is one of the few times that she's actually had a full fight camp. Yeah, she's always had last minute fights, and she's done amazing. She's gotten with injuries and stuff like that. So I expect the best Cortney Casey, and I expect the best Cynthia Calvillo in there. So it's going to be a great fight.
How long have you guys known each other? I didn't know that you guys were familiar with each other. When do you think the first time that you met, if you can recall?
We didn't meet. I don't think this is actually the first time that we probably met. I mean, I've been around her a little bit, but she fought for Tough Enough. I fought for Tough Enough. She fought some of the same people I had, and I have, and so we just knew we were in each other's radars. But at the same time, everybody's on my radar. So I was like, I know everybody. I love fighting, and I pay attention to everybody in my division. I think it's important to know that, to know who you're fighting and what their styles are. So I'm definitely aware of who she is. I know she knows who I am and what my style is and what her style is. And yeah.
Well, you mentioned it. She, at this point, I think she has 3 split decisions in a row. It seems to just be a pattern at this point. What do you think, watching her and preparing her for this fight, what do you think it is about her and her fighting style that's leading to these close decisions? And I guess, how can you avoid that for yourself?
I mean, for me, honestly, I don't take any of my opponents lightly, but my main focus is me evolving and being a great fighter and having, not only just great offense, but defense. Some people a little bit focus a lot about their offense, or defense is not so great. Sometimes they underestimate their opponents, and they just feel so good and they look past. And I kind of had a learning lesson with that with Carla Esparza. I felt so great going into that fight, and I thought I was just going to like walk through her just because I felt so good and I was just like undermining. But you can't ever take anybody lightly. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile. So with Cortney Casey, you can't leave your hands down. You have to have complete defense at all times, and be ready for everything. So I'm prepared. I'm prepared in there to put up a show and be the best fighter that I could possibly be, and put up a good fight and have great defense against her.
You mentioned the weight earlier, having struggled on the scale a couple of times over your last few fights. I'm sure you've been asked this a ton. I feel compelled to ask, though, how is it this week? How's the weight going so far?
It's actually going pretty amazing. I was worried myself, too, because I wanted to make sure that I came in a lot lighter than I ever had in my fights. I just didn't want to make sure I didn't have the mishap. I made a few changes, so I brought onto the team Freshly Prep, which is a meal prep company, and that was sports nutritionists that have been working with me, and we also linked up with Clint for the Performance Institute. He oversees the meal plans that I was doing for this fight camp, and it's been going great. They also provided a chef, so the UFC PI has Chef Mario, and then also Charles Skoll and Stoll. Sorry, I pronounced his last name. And it's been great. My weight, like today, honestly, I woke up at 120, and it's like, that's the lightest. I got 4 pounds to go, that's the lightest I've ever been, and I have a ton of energy, and like my training this week is, seriously, I've surprised myself. I thought I was going to be low energy just because I wanted to put more focus on making sure that I make weight. I hate to, give people excuses to talk, especially if after I get a win. I don't like leaving anybody to talk, so I want to get in there, make weight, and get the finish.
If you woke up at 120 today, like what would compare it for me? What would you normally be at this point in the week?
I think normally I would like either be about 124, and that's a big deal. That's like that's an extra 4 pounds I would have to like probably cut up, and even at that, I feel like I was a little bit light on what I would eat. I'd pay attention on that. Last night I ate a really good meal, and still woke up at that weight, and so. It's been great. I'm so happy that my body has been responding to it the right way. I was really worried. I just thought that getting older, that my body was changing, and like I said, having that lung layoff made my body go through some changes, and it was really hard. It was so weird. Like my body was just holding on to a lot of water. The last fight, and my body was just shut down, and like we spent like 5 hours that morning a weight cut to not even cut, not even like 1 point of a pound. Like it was insane. It was we had to just cut the plug, and we're like, we just got to make this weight, and apologize to everybody and learn from the errors, whatever was made, and move forward, and rehydrate as best possible, and still perform well, which is luckily, I was happy that I did, and but a big learning lesson. I think that even with this mishap, I'm happy that it did, because I'm learning a lot about nutrition, and if it hadn't happened, I could have still made those errors, that still weren't making me feel so good during fight week because of the weight cut. But the learning process has actually taught me so much more, and I feel great. I feel amazing.
Awesome. Well, then final question for you, and this is an easy one. I mean, when you visualize this fight on Sunday, what does this look like for Cynthia Calvillo?
Man, I'm just planning to get the finish, honestly. Whatever way I can get it. Like I said, the last time I went in there with a specific game plan, I just slipped out of my fingers and I lost the decision against Carla Esparza. So the game plan for me is just to go in there and make sure that you have a good defense. Do not take her lightly, and take advantage of every opportunity, any opening to get the finish.
Awesome. Well, good luck, and thank you for the time.